I need you to sign up if okay. Sort of feel like a monkey. You hands him something. It's supposed to work, and you keep talking into it as if it was working, but it's not working. But I keep talking into it because I'm kind of like a monkey. You know, monkey sees something that looks like a banana, he picks it up, keeps thinking it's going to taste good. Next time he picks it up. Well, good evening. I'm Carson Stevens. I am an insurance agent with New York Life as well as a financial advisor, and I want to welcome you to my seminar. And before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I haven't always been a financial planner, financial advisor. I've had other careers before I got into this business in 2004. I've served actually as a minister at one time. Well, actually for about 24, 25 years I served as a minister of a church. Last one was in Houston at the Johnson Space Center near, down where NASA is. I've served with a nonprofit organization and helping them raise money to help needy and indigent patients go to MD Anderson Hospital in Houston. I've actually served as president of a college for a while. And now I'm in my own business on Main Street in Chestnut in Bastrop, Texas. I don't know if you know where Bastrop Copier is or Cindy's restaurant, the old Cindy's or the Oyster Bar. Maybe you know where the Oyster Bar is. I'm right on that corner. And so welcome you to come visit me anytime. How many of you are parents? Raise your hand. How about grandparents? All right. How many of you are caring for preschool or early elementary children? Yeah, you are. What about children who are elementary age? Middle school? Middle school? High school? Okay, so we've got young children here, don't we? High school. Actually, I'm a grandparent. I've got 7 grandkids. The oldest is 17, and the youngest is not even 1 yet. So, I mean, it's just spreading across the spectrum there. So thank you for sharing with us what you've said about your grandchildren, your children. Helps me to know what topics are most important to you. How many of you ever talk to your children about money? How many of you talk to them about money? Is it usually a good discussion? Or is it, why is it, what is it usually about? What? Them wanting money. You talk about saving. What do you talk to them about? Them wanting money and them saving. Yeah. Sometimes talking with our kids about money can make us uncomfortable, but the fact is that by talking to our kids about money, it can help make them smarter financial decisions as adults and actually begins to work them in the process to teach them how to manage debt more effectively. There was a magazine, Kids and Money Survey, Parents Kids and Money Survey, said that 87% of the kids ages 8 to 14 said they got most of their personal financial information from their parents. That's not surprising because only 17 states have mandatory education for financials for their kids, how to manage money. Only 17 states graduate a kid from high school knowing what a bank account is or how to write a check or how to manage their money. Fact is, when it comes to helping kids understand money and develop strong financial habits, the parents are in the strongest position to actually help them do so. If talking to your kids about money seems intimidating, it's probably because most of us feel like we can do a better job with their finances. Believe me, I'm in that boat too. When I start talking to my kids about finances or grandkids about finances, I feel like I could have done a better job when I was younger in managing my own finances. So sometimes you're afraid to tell them about how to manage money when they say, well, how well did you do? Well, and sometimes when I'm even doing a financial plan for someone or talking to them about their own retirement, they'll ask me questions, and I'll say, look, I'm hoping you won't do what I did, so that's what I'm here. I'm here to help you do a better job than I did, and I've learned from my mistakes, and you can learn from my mistakes as well. Part of the problem is that 52% of parents don't save for their own retirement. 62% don't have an emergency fund. 56% don't own life insurance, and 55% don't have an up-to-date will. Why do you need a will if you don't have much money. Because if anything happens to, if you've got young children, anything happens to you, you need to tell the court, through your will, who's going to take care of your kids until they get ready for graduation. If you don't have a will, the court will decide. Fortunately, kids learn from us, right? They learn from us both from our good traits and from our not so good traits, right? I have heard my children, I've heard my own voice coming out of my children sometimes, and it's not a pleasant thing to realize that's how I sounded to them, and they're talking to their kids this way, and I want to go to them and say, look, would you please turn the tape recorder and rewind, and don't do to your kids what I did to you. Almost at any age, kids can understand money concepts at some level. Where does money come from? How do we use it? How to save for a rainy day. Let me tell you I think it's a funny story. We came home from church when I was young, and my youngest daughter was in the second grade. At that time, I was a minister for a church in Houston, and they had studied giving in the Bible class. And she was really upset, this youngest daughter. And so was the older daughter, who was in the fifth grade. She said, you know what they said in church? No, what? She said, we asked them, who do we give money to whenever we take up the collection in church? She said, somebody says we give to missionaries. Yes. We give to the orphans. Yes. We give to the poor. Yes. Then they said, we give to the preacher. And she says, no, we don't. And this was in class. My daughter said, no, we don't. And the teacher said, yes, we do. She says, no, we don't. So she came home and was just upset. She said, Dad, they give money to you? That's just not right. I said, why? I said, why not? She said, well, you go to work just like everybody else does. Of course, I always went to the church to work. And so every day at 8 o'clock, I got up and I went to the church and I worked. And at about 5 o'clock or so, I come home. And so she saw me going to my job just like everybody else. And she thought that somehow or the other, I got paid by some unknown somebody out there. She didn't know where money came from. And when she thought I was taking money out of the collection plate so that I could pay myself, she thought that was a sin. Well, that's a second grader for you. So I think it's important for kids to know where money comes from. How do you get it? Where does it come from for you? They need to know that. How do you use your money? What about saving for a rainy day? You see, take it from me. Understanding finances is a lifelong process. Learning financial skills starts being with very young children and very basic money concepts, and it never ends. Even though we're parents, we're still not too old to learn something new. But it's best to start early while we have the time to do something about it. Here's the key. If you're not talking with your kids about money, start now. You don't know where to begin, so I'm going to talk about with some of the areas you can begin with today. So, next slide. Follow the money. You're doing a good job, John. Thank you, by the way, for following along and doing the PowerPoint. I brought him my little thumb drive tonight, and he said, I was wondering if you were going to have it, and I said, well, I hope it's the right one. And it was. And also, thanks to those that provided the food. Who'd you say it was that cooked it? Ken cooked it. He did it good, and the ladies did a good job putting it together, and I appreciate it very much. So, what are some opportunities for us to talk to our kids about money? How about when we take them to the grocery store? How many of you take your kids shopping when you go to the grocery store? Unfortunately? All right. Well, how about showing your child two different items and saying, this one costs this much and this one costs this much. Which one should we buy? Let them help make that decision. When they understand that if you buy the one that's less expensive, that means there's more money left over to buy something else, then they may get to the concept of we should maybe buy something a little less expensive. Now, there's some things that you're not going to want to show them the comparative price to, right? Like if you're a cook and you use Crisco and they have some other brand and you know that the other brand is just not as good, well, you're not going to compare those, are you? You're not going to compare those. So you're going to compare the things where they're where they're equally good, and yet one of them is going to be less expensive than the other, right? Cornflakes is cornflakes, right? Whether they say Kellogg's or Post or Hill Country Fare, right? Okay. What about when you take your teenagers to the mall and it's time to buy school clothes? What if you tell your child, you got to have a shirt or 2 shirts, you got to have 2 pair of jeans, and you got to have a pair of tennis shoes. Here's the money for this. You can keep whatever you don't spend. If you're comfortable doing that, tell them what they have to have. You don't want to leave them and say just buy what you want, because they'll come back with a T-shirt and a pair of shorts because that's cheapest, and they're going to keep the rest. You're not going to send them to school with that, I'm sure. So things that you tell them, here's the rules. You're going to have a shirt and a pair of jeans or whatever it is, a backpack, whatever it is that they have to have, and explain to them, I'm giving you this amount of money, and whatever you don't spend, you can keep. You think they're going to buy the most expensive brand, and are they going to care about the name brand as much that way as they do when you just hand them the credit card and pay for it with a credit card? That's one idea. What about when you're eating out? Showing them the price of meals. Do you ever look at the price of meals when you go and eat out? Well, why not show your kids? Why not show your kids? We go to this one restaurant. It's a barbecue restaurant up near Salado. And I'll be doggone. They make a $7 sandwich that I swear you get as much brisket on that sandwich as if you buy the $10 plate. Right? $7 sandwich, you get the same amount of brisket with fries. No fries. But you get as much brisket as you get for a $10.95 plate of brisket. That means, how much is the slaw and beans? $7, $10.95. How much is the slaw and the beans? Huh? $10.95 minus 7. That means it's $3.95 for slaw and beans. Do you really need the slaw and beans? See what I'm saying? So, in other words, you talk to the kids about that. You get about as much over here as you do here. Do you really need that? We can save that money. Well, what are you going to do with that $3.95? What are you going to do with that $3.95? Well, hold on a minute. Are you going to buy the dessert? Yeah, you are. Maybe. So you got 4 of you there, and you each save $3.95. How much is that? Or $4, rounded up to $4. How much is that? 4 times 4 is what? $16, right? That's 3 boxes of Bluebell. So, are you going to buy the $16 dessert, or are you going to go home and have 1 box of Bluebell and $10 left over to do what? Put in your pocket. See what I'm saying? You got to talk to your kids about stuff like that. Yes. Yeah. What are they charging for drinks nowadays at restaurants? $2.25, $2.25. $2.50 times 4 people is how much? Another $10 we just put in our pockets. We didn't eat the dessert. We went and bought the Bluebell, $10 in my pocket. We didn't buy the Cokes, $10 in my pocket. You say, well, I like buying a Coke. Okay. So for $2.50, you can buy a 12-pack of Coca-Cola at Walmart. You can have all you want. See what I'm saying? People don't think that way. They get to the restaurant and what do they think? What do we tend to think when we get to the restaurant? I'm hungry. I deserve this. Okay. Well, you can have it all and still eat cheaper than that. What about going to the bank with your child and talking about opening up the difference between a checking account and a savings account, and then talk to them and show them maybe a bank balance or something where the bank gave you money. Remember, you look at there, it made so much interest. I gave me money. You understand what? The bank gave us money for doing what? Keeping our money there, saving our money, and not spending it. Our money actually can make money. How about looking at the bills, paying the bills? Say, look what we paid for this. Now, we may not be totally uncomfortable where the money comes from. Okay, next. Okay, we may not be real comfortable talking about all of our bank statements with our kids. But it is hard for kids to understand the value of money without having some of their own. They need to practice spending and saving and making money decisions. Kids who don't get practice have a greater difficulty learning to use money responsibly when they grow up. Some children practice spending and saving by getting an allowance. How many of you give your child an allowance? Does anyone give their child an allowance? You do? Good. Do you? No? Why not? They don't do anything, okay? All right? She's working, okay? All right? If you give an allowance to your child, is he or she able to spend the money any way they want? So you go with her and you kind of say you should buy this. How old is your child? She's 3. Okay. Other parents rely on gifts that they receive for birthdays, holidays, or religious celebrations, rewards for exceptional performances or good grades. Let me ask you a question. How many of you had a job when you were a kid? How old were you? Cutting grass at kindergarten? Yeah. That's an excellent way for a kid to learn how to make money. Learn to where did money come from. If you go to work, you'll get money for it. It's excellent to help them learn those things. Getting a part-time job at the grocery store. You see, working for money drives home this concept that think about this. When you hand a child some money, who does he or she feel that he or she has power over? Over their parents. The parent gave them the money. The parent has the power, right? But if you can earn money on your own, what do they learn? What is the power? Power is inside of them to work, to earn it, and then it's come from their efforts. And so it's good to teach our kids how to work. Listen, one time my kids came to me, my daughter came to me, and we were in one of these Houston schools, and they were involved in everything. And she came back, she said, Dad, this group says I need to buy this outfit, and this one says I need to buy this outfit and this outfit. We added it all up, and it was $140. Now, 20 years ago, $140 would be like what, $250 today? It was just amazing. And I said, we don't have $140 to give you for all of that. We're going to have to earn it. She said, well, how are we going to do that, Dad? I said, we'll think of something. So, we got some metal stencils. And what a stencil is? A stencil is a cutout letter or number. And we then cut out a cardboard little hole that would fit those stencils in it, that we could take those stencils in and then we put a little slidey thing where we could slide those stencils. Then we went around to neighborhoods and knocked on doors. And we took a can of black paint and a can of white paint and a roll of masking tape. That's what we had. And we knocked on doors and we said to the people, do you realize that if you call 911, they're going to have to try to find your house? And your house looks just like every other house down here. And on the curb, there's not a house number. But if your house number was on the curb, they could see it real easy. And for $7, we'll paint the number on the curb. So we painted the number on the curb, real pretty, with black background and white letters. Charged $7. By lunchtime, we had already had to buy 2 more cans of white and 2 more cans of black and some more masking tape. We didn't have the money to buy more. We were living off what we made that day. But by lunchtime, we had enough money to buy lunch. And by the end of the day, guess how much money we had? $140. Now, what did they learn? They learned resourcefulness. They learned self-reliance, and they learned that there's money out there to be made if you put out the imagination and the effort to go get it. It was an important lesson. It's an important lesson. Rewards beyond money is next. The next slide. All right. We understand that our kids, we don't want them to think that everything they do in life that they get paid for. They need to learn that taking on responsibility is part of living in a family, and that they don't have to get paid for clearing the table, for cleaning their rooms, or for putting their clean clothes away, or making their beds. They need to understand there is a reward in that. What is the reward for making your bed in the morning? First thing you do when you get out. What's your reward for making up your bed as soon as you get out of bed? Is there a reward? Here's the reward. No matter how bad your day goes that day, you did one thing successfully. You made up your bed. And if you've had a bad day, when you come home, guess what? You get to go to bed in a bed that was made up, and you did it. So there's a reward in making up your bed. Did you know when you go into the Army, the military, the Navy SEALs, the first thing they teach you how to do besides run and say yes, sir, is to make up your bed first thing in the morning? Why is that? There must be some lesson there. But kids need to learn the value beyond money. We're not simply working for money. We're working. Sometimes we do stuff for free, and that's what it means to be part of a family. The next slide, please. Saving, how we get the things that we want. So what do kids do with the money once they get it? They either spend it or they save it. A kid with a few dollars is going to be fine when the craving for popcorn strikes at the movies. Now, we all like money to purchase some things, but there was this survey that said that 25% of kids spend their money as soon as they get it. Good news is 75% don't. The power of saving becomes truly motivational when kids learn that saving lets them achieve a specific goal and allows them to buy something they really want. A baseball mitt, spending for the mall, a video game, a smartphone. A few dollars here and a few dollars here, it all adds up, and before long you're going to get what you really want. When I was 9 years old, I told my mother I wanted a fish aquarium. Y'all know what a fish aquarium is? And I love the little blue fish, the little neons, and the little zebrafish. I love the pretty little gravel, and I love the way the tank bubbled. And I said, I want that. I want a fish tank. I was 9 years old, and my mother says, in her own way, I ain't buying you no fish tank. If you want a fish tank, you just go out and earn it. Across the highway, Highway 290 in Harker Heights, Texas, they were building a miniature golf course. I went across the street, and I got a job being paid $1 a day. 25 days later, I had $25 to buy that $25 fish tank. I did what my mama said. I went out and earned it, but I had to earn it one day at a time. And so kids need to learn that. It's a motivational thing. Saving is also a way to learn. They need to understand that when you save your money, you're going to be able to take advantage of opportunities. You're going to be able, when you see something you really want, you didn't know you wanted, and there it is in front of you. If you have a savings, you'll go out, you've got the money to go out and do that. So we want to teach them that saving is how we get the things we want. That's how we get the things we want. Also, saving for future goals. The Parents and Kids and Money survey discovered that while 73% of the parents regularly talk to their kids about money, the majority of these conversations focus on short-term savings goals that we just discussed. A summer vacation, a Kindle, or something like that. Only 37% of the conversations deal with future goals that are really big, long-term savings, like what about taking a big special trip after graduation, or saving for that first car, or maybe money for college. It's never too early to start learning about really big long-term savings goals such as retirement. You may be saying, your kids saying, well, I need to be saving money for retirement. I need to be thinking about, well, they need to be thinking about it, that they're going to work and then they're going to stop working. So that when they grow up, You can help them know that saving for their own retirement is one of the most important things that they can do. I used to say to parents, I said to parents whose kids have left home, if they've graduated from high school and college, what is the number one thing that they can do for their kids? What is the number one thing that a parent can do for his kid after the kid has gone off to college or left home? Some say, well, help them have a down payment for a house or help them to buy a car. Oh, no. Number one thing that you can do for your kids after they've left home is to save for your retirement. You say, do it for my kids? Yes, do that for your kids. Why? So that when you get old, they won't have to take care of you. You're taking care of your kids by saving for your retirement. And when they say, well, I need money for a down payment, I ain't buying you no down payment, no house. You get out and work and you earn it. I bet they could.